Hello, beautiful souls. Today, we're going to learn how to overcome fear foods using this proven technique. This proven technique has supported me to overcome all the foods that I was fearful of, all the restriction that I had in my relationship with food, and supported me and hundreds of women worldwide to experience the food freedom that they were looking for to live their lives. So let's get into it. My pal Gibson over here is going to be with us and support us on this adventure. So, those of you who are new to this channel, welcome. Those of you that are returning, welcome again. Love having you here. This is a space where I am on a mission to support you to overcome the struggles with your body image, with food, break free of restriction, emotional eating, so that you can step into the unshakable worth and confidence to truly get everything you want in your life. So if that sounds like something you're up for, give me a like. You can subscribe to be the VIP on the list in terms of firsthand knowledge, and we'll dive right in. Okay, here we go. So first things first, I'm gonna reach over here and grab some of these fear foods that I was once fearful of because this is important. We wanna use this technique, which is an exposure technique, to actually reduce the fear and the intensity that we have towards a given object or food article. So I would recommend that you go grab whatever it is that you've typically had fear around or resistance around eating. So chocolate in general, candy, I would say, bread, this is a big one. I didn't have any other bread in the house today, but like normally I would have an assortment. So bread and chips, here we go. As you can see, I no longer fear any of these foods because they're in my house, but this is a Costco size bag of Miss Vicky chips that I would never previously allow in my house because I was fearful of eating it, and now they're almost gone, and I think we've had it for merely a week. So anyway, just go ahead and grab any of the foods that you feel fearful of, and I'll wait right here. Okay, so hopefully you've gotten those foods, and if it feels safe for you, bring them in your surroundings, okay? And rate on a scale of 1 to 10 for each of those foods how fearful you are of eating them, 1 to 10. 10 meaning terrified, I can't eat them. 1 or 0 meaning not afraid at all. And write down any thoughts that are coming up for you around those foods. So whether it be, I feel like I'm going to gain weight if I eat them, or I'm scared that they're bad for me, will make me bloat, like whatever the language is, just write those thoughts down. And then you can pause the video if you need to. And then I want you to tap along with me. Okay? So we're gonna use this technique, which actually, it is absolutely amazing what happens with this technique. So when you have fear of certain foods or cravings for certain foods, it illuminates certain parts of our brain. When we have fear of foods, it's kind of like having a phobia, a fear of heights or anything like that. And by using this technique, tapping, we're speaking to the brain, the pathways that are holding this intensity around this food, this fear. And by tapping, we're alleviating the fear around the food, the emotional intensity, so that you bring your body, your nervous system into a state of ease, of more peace. And the more you expose yourself to this and use this technique, you will eradicate your fear of foods. And I know that that's a truly life-changing concept for many of you that are feeling like your lives are truly restricted from this food. And I know the same, I experienced the same. Trust me, my whole life was controlled by food and it wasn't living. So let's begin tapping. Okay, so we're gonna start with one of the objects, like one of the foods at a time. And you can rinse and repeat this exercise for anything. So let's just say we're gonna start with chocolate or whatever you choose. Just go ahead and pick it. So bring that food into your awareness. So have it close to you, look at it. I don't want you to eat it yet, but you can sniff it. You can raise the intensity, the desire, the fear by bringing something closer. It's like standing on, a mountain, getting closer to a mountain. It brings up the fear. We want to do that so that we can actually tap it down and bring more ease into your body. Okay, so even though I'm looking at the food, so I'll encourage you to tap along with me, and then once you get it, you just look at the food. Even though I'm terrified of eating this food, and tell me what that food is, I love and accept myself. even though I am terrified of eating this, I love and accept myself. Even though I will not eat this food because of all these bad things that are going to happen to me when I do, I deeply and completely love, honor, and respect myself. I'm afraid of eating this food. I won't eat it. Terrified of eating this food. What if I gain weight if I eat it? Something terrible is going to happen if I eat it. I don't know what I'm going to do if I eat this food. Maybe my body's just going to bloat like a balloon. I'm convinced that this food is bad for me. Can't possibly eat it. Terrible things ensue when I eat this food. Everything about it terrifies me. You're not going to get me to eat this food. This fear is too intense. I refuse to eat it. All this fear of this food. This food that essentially controls my life. Sometimes the mere fact that I have this fear makes me want to eat the food. It's almost as if having it off the table is what makes me want to eat it. But this fear is too strong. I refuse to believe that I can eat this food and nothing bad will happen to me. I refuse to eat it. You're not going to make me. You're not going to convince me that it's okay to eat this food. You're not going to convince me that nothing bad will happen to me if I eat this food. I have to believe what the diet industry told me. I have to believe what my parents taught me about this food. My body's the same as everybody else's. So I don't know what's best for me. Other people do. You're not going to convince me to eat it. I'm absolutely terrified of eating this food and all the bad things that will obviously happen. It'll make me sick. I'll gain weight. I'm not going to do it. I have to listen to what everybody else says. I never overcome my fears. I'm the kind of person who wants to have fear of food forever. I have to have rules around food. I refuse not to. It's not possible for me to have freedom around food. It's possible for others, but not for me. I don't deserve to eat this food. I don't deserve to have freedom around this food. I have to punish myself. it's not possible for me to ever eat this food in my life. I have to stay stuck in this fear prison. And you're not going to convince me that I can be safe around this food. That I could have peace with food. I refuse to have a peaceful, easeful relationship with food. You're not going to convince me that if I eat this food, I'll be okay. I have to stay stuck in this fear because it's working so well for me. I love having fear of foods. It's so freeing. Especially going to restaurants. I love how much fear and energy these foods take up in my life. I refuse to even think about what it would be like if I could be free of this fear. Because I'm not the type of person who wants to overcome fears. I want to stay stuck here. Okay, so take a nice easy breath and just notice how you're feeling now. Notice when you look at that food, what is the level of intensity of your fear, 1 to 10? If it's come down, maybe it's lessened a bit, maybe that number has decreased, or maybe you have more acceptance to around that fear. Really important to understand that the more we bring ourselves into the intensity of that fear, and we use this tapping technique, it actually reprograms your brain. And what happens is, and I'm sure you noticed as you did this technique, you start to hear different thoughts in your mind. So I will invite you to pause the video, reflect on where that number is now, share it in the comments below. I'd love to know, what are the thoughts that are coming up that you've noticed shifting? And what I'd love for you to do is just say them aloud and just tap with me. So I'm not going to say anything. I want you to just tell me what you're noticing in terms of the shifts, what your thoughts are in your mind right now around this food, or what's happening to the fear. So just share with me, what are you noticing right now? Beautiful awarenesses. Beautiful. So you can continue tapping for as long as you like, and just tapping in those shifts, because you're actually supporting your brain to rewire those pathways. And I promise, if you rinse and repeat this for each of these foods that you have fear around, if you were to do this every day, even for 5 minutes, and reworking this exercise, you are going to experience incremental drops in your fear of that food. And then you'll come to a place of acceptance around it, or more ease and neutrality around it, where you actually can be around the food and not freak out, or not have all these terrible ideas of what's going to happen. So I know for me, when I was recovering from having fears of foods, the panic and the fear was what was making me sick around those foods. When I allowed myself the freedom, the gift of overcoming the fears, I don't have fear of those foods ever again. And it's this funny thing where we have this idea that if you eat the food, something terrible is going to happen. But the more we obsess and the more we fixate and the more fear we have around the foods, the more that is exactly what's keeping us sick. And my body was riddled in inflammation from all this fear. Like, I was losing sleep. I wasn't living my life. And I know for some of you out there, you're experiencing the same thing. So I want you to know that this is possible for you to overcome. You absolutely can. You can book a free complimentary call with me to learn exactly how my 8-step proven method and signature program can help you, just like hundreds of women worldwide, to overcome these exact issues at a root level. No band-aid fix. Totally working through it, overcoming it, so you can have the freedom to actually live your life, because that's what you deserve. So if that sounds like something you're up for, you can give me a call anytime. The link is below, and I'm so grateful you took the time to be here for yourself, and I will be so excited to see you next week. Love you.